The Last Suttee by Rudyard Kipling. Not many years ago, a king died in one of the Rajput states. His wives, disregarding the orders of the English against Suttee, would have broken out of the palace, had not the gates been barred. But one of them, disguised as the king's favorite dancing girl, passed through the line of guards, and reached the pyre there. Her courage failing, she prayed her cousin, a baron of the court, to kill her. This he did not, knowing who she was. Udai Chand lay sick to death in his hold by Gungra hill. All night we heard the death gongs ring for the soul of the dying Rajput king. All night beat up from the women's wing a cry that we could not still. All night the barons came, and went the lords of the outer guard. All night the cressets glimmered pale on Ulwar sabre, and Tonk Jezil Muir headstall and Marwar mail that clinked in the palace yard. In the golden room on the palace roof, all night he fought for air, and there was sobbing behind the screen, rustle and whisper of women unseen, and the hungry eyes of the Bundi queen on the death she might not share. He passed at dawn. The death fire leaped from ridge to riverhead, from the Malwa plains to the Abu Scars, and wail upon wail went up to the stars behind the grim Zenanabars, when they knew that the king was dead. The dumb priest knelt to tie his mouth, and robe him for the pyre. The Bundi queen beneath us cried, "See now, that we die as our mothers died in the Bridalbt, by our master's side. Out women to the fire." We drove the great gates home apace, white hands were on the sill, but ere the rush of the unseen feet had reached the turn to the open street, the bars shot down, the guardroom beat, we held the dovecot still. A face looked down in the gathering day, and laughing spoke from the wall, "Oh, they mourn here, let me by Azizun the Lucknow Notchgirl, I. When the house is wrought, the rats must fly, and I seek another thrall. For I ruled the king, as ne'er did queen, tonight the queens rule me. Guard them safely, but let me go wherever they pay the debt they owe in scourge and torture." She leaped below, and the grim guard watched her flee. They knew that the king had spent his soul on a north-bred dancing girl, that he prayed to a flat-nosed Lucknow god, and kissed the ground where her feet had trod, and doomed to death at her drunken nod, and swore by her lightest curl. We bore the king to his father's place, where the tombs of the sunborn stand, where the grey apes swing, and the peacocks preen on fretted pillar and jeweled screen, and the wild boar couch in the house of the queen on the drift of the desert sand. The herald read his titles forth. We set the logs aglow, friend of the English free, from fear baron of Luni, to Jaisalmer lord of the desert, of Bikaner king of the jungle go. All night the red flame stabbed the sky with wavering wind-tossed spears, and out of a shattered temple crept a woman who veiled her head, and wept and called on the king. But the great king slept, and turned not for her tears. Small thought had he to mark the strife, cold fear with hot desire, when thrice she leaped from the leaping flame, and thrice she beat her breast for shame, and thrice, like a wounded dove, she came and moaned about the fire. One watched a bowshot from the blaze, the silent streets between, who had stood by the king in sport, and fray to blade and ambush or boar at bay, and he was a baron old and grey, and kin to the Bundi queen. He said, "O shameless, put aside the veil upon thy brow, who held the king and all his land to the wanton will of a harlot's hand. Will the white ash rise from the blistered brand? Stoop down and call him now." Then she, "By the faith of my tarnished soul, all things I did not well, I had hoped to clear ere the fire died, and lay me down by my master's side, to rule in heaven his only bride, while the others howl in hell. But I have felt the fire's breath, and hard it is to die. Yet if I may pray a Rajput lord to sully the steel of a Thacker's sword, with base-born blood of a trade abhorred," and the Thacker answered, "I." He drew and struck the straight blade, drank the life beneath the breast. I had looked for the queen to face the flame, but the harlot dies for the Rajput dame. Sister of mine, pass free from shame, pass with thy king to rest. The black log crashed above the white, the little flames, and lean red as slaughter and blue as steel, that whistled and fluttered from head to heel, leaped up anew, for they found their meal on the heart of the Bundi queen.